Hello everybody. I'm sitting here in Amsterdam in my studio and together with Torkild Nielsen from NB. He we just made a collection for my new exhibition, Apophenia. And Apophenia, it's not a beautiful woman or not a beautiful goddess, but Apophenia is a phenomena it's a psychological phenomena. People can see forms or elements that are not there in real. If people look at this chaotic, pointless patterns, and at the same time they see things that can be used or give meaning to. So if you look at the clouds in the sky, I think everybody in Denmark or in the world has experienced that. Sometimes you see a head of an animal. Of course it's a cloud, but your brain says, oh, it could be an animal. When I start a painting, it's very abstract, very chaotic, and very blurry, and a very unknown kind of pattern. But I developed Apophenia in my head more than the average viewer. So I use this as a tool. That's what I developed very well in my career. It's actually the main line in my career, by recognizing useful forms and elements in the paint. This painting is the biggest of the whole collection. It's 2 meters by 2 meters, and there's a lot of things happening. And what you can see here is the very intense reactions between the different kind of paints, which makes it a very dynamic composition. Okay, this is a painting. It's 150, 170 high, and it's it's one of my favorite, you could say. It's part of a new collection, and it's made of acrylic and oil and mixed media. This painting is 170 high, 150 large, and it's made of different materials. But the challenge in this painting is how to create depth and at the same time flatness. And I did this because of make things bigger in front and have this how do you say, smaller becoming elements that gives a lot of depth. At the same time, it creates a surface. This painting is 160 high, 90 centimeters wide, and the challenge for this composition was to make an acceleration feeling. In this reflection here, the water seems to be very quiet, and here by the brush strokes suggesting that there is a cataract, or there is a acceleration of the streaming of the water. Yes. This is a painting. It's 70 centimeters high and 80 centimeters wide. This is actually a very quiet and still experience, you could say. It's the architecture of a drop. You see, there's some movement in the reflection in water, but there is no streaming. There's only, these are the echoes of one drop. Okay, this painting is 90 high and 150 wide. It's a very panoramic composition, to say. In this composition, I played with the elements that are very in front and a world behind the elements that are in front. As you can see here, these plants or whatever, they ask for the attention, and the flatness of the landscape of the water will create a lot of depth. This painting is 150 high and 90 centimeters wide. For me, it was actually the same kind of challenge to figure out how I could achieve the effect of looking through the water. If you come very close, suddenly some stones are appearing here and here, or some kind of rock, I don't know. It does not exist in real life, but it suggests that there's something under the surface of the water, and also because of these white elements, which suggest there is a surface. And the second thing is that it has a great perspective, because of the elements become smaller and in front become bigger. So there is this perspective feeling. Okay, this is a painting 90 centimeters high, 150 wide, and this is actually very abstract base, you could say. But I investigated some kind of movement into the water, movement within the reflection. As you can see, this is not still water, this is streaming water. And because of the contrast between the blurry reflection and the hard white tones of the foam of the movement in the water. This is also a very slim painting, 95 centimeters high and only 25 meters wide. And this is also inspired by this same Japanese printing from the 19th century. Of course, there's this study of perspective with laying grasses on the surface, and it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's this dominant element, which is very on front of it, which gives it an extra depth. Yeah. This painting is 95 centimeters high and only 25 centimeters wide. And actually more slimmer than ever. And it reminds me of Japanese printings, old printings from Japanese culture from the 19th century. And I know that also Vincent van Gogh, he was also inspired by that type of prints. And the thing that I like, the brush strokes are running out of the painting. They are cut off, which was also very these Japanese prints are very famous of. This is a painting. It's 110 high, but only 35 centimeters wide. And I was wondering how to solve a problem with my theme of reflection in such a strange measure. And it's also a study of darkness, shadow reflected, streaming slowly but surely into the light. This is painting is 120 high, 110 wide, and in this painting I focused on light and different light, not only very direct sunlight, but also the light of shadow. But because also shadows have colors, and you see that here. This is the center of the light with a reflection, and this is an area which is not only a reflection but also a shadow corner, you could say, of the vegetation that grows here. And these are very thick elements of benches that lay over the surface, and they are reflected here. But at the same time it's a very graphic, a very flat and a little bit three-dimensional element in the painting, which I like. Okay, this is a painting 150 high and 80 centimeters wide. In this painting I investigated and tried to figure out some turbulence, you could say. There's a movement in the water which creates a hole in the water here, and it takes a lot of elements in with it towards a new direction. And also nice that it is always also the feeling that you can look through the water to some blurry bottom. This painting is 110 high and 160 wide, and this is very I investigated how to reach some abstrahism in this work, and it has something to do with the working of vertical elements and horizontal elements, and that was interesting for me to explore, and it came out like a new work which have those both elements in it very strongly. This painting is 160 high and 90 centimeters wide, and here I played with the idea to have a view underwater, not underwater but through the water. So there is this blurry reflection, but I wanted to have let feel that this water is continuing, and you have a view underwater, under the surface of the water at the same time. This painting is 150 high and 90 centimeters wide. This is also a play with the movement of the water, and also giving the idea that you can see through the water what's happening on the bottom of this little stream, and also the difference between the shape of the waves and the direction of the water, which suggests it makes it's avoiding an obstacle. I like the movement.